Welcome. I'm Isaiah. Many people know me as Isaac.
Through the dogmas, the writings, the dissertations, everything drawn up, essays, papers, files, cross examinations of information, the perception in contrasting understandings for the way for the way one perceives realities. So it's just about the way that like the contrast with the information and the way that each one will interpret what it means and how they actually live it out in their waking life. Okay, a dimension will become. What is the outcome of all that? What is the result after they've said they said their piece, they debated? So what's supposed to come out of all of this? A dimension will become more or less actualized than another set of facts truths. That means one of these thoughts is going to become more real than the other, basically, or accepted as a truth. Or I'll say it that way: accepted as a truth, and to influence the realization of the dominant journey within the human experience. So that means it will reflect upon our waking life, whichever if we can call it a dogma, whatever dogma or philosophy springs from either one of these two, out of these two, it's going to become such an iconic moment that it will become immortalized. It will become a part of the collective conscience, and also definitely will influence the lens in which people will look the Western world, and of course, that's going to be a reflection to any part of the world. Uh, the lens, the eyes, the way that we see and respond in the world, and our actions, and everything else, the way we think. So this is a big moment, a historical moment. This is big. Okay, so we got the first one out the way. I promise I'm going to get to the prophecy, but you got to understand context. This stuff is not for play. Okay. So the next one is this one. This was Libra. So this one was this one. The re, excuse me, the Republic, Libra, right? Okay. First of all, let's define Libra here. We're defining Libra here. Libra, it says Libra here, companionships, marriages, and the options for creating long-term partnerships within newly formed unions or through newly formed unions, and that also applies especially to businesses. Okay, so there are two paths I am observing since late July 2019. One Virgo path, and the second being Libra's path. So that means the lens and the way that I've been looking at people is, some people are on a Virgo path, some people on a Libra path. And in general, people who are on the Libra path, these are people that are meeting their, like other partners. They're partners, and they are deciding that they want to be in a commitment. They are dedicating themselves from this year and moving into the next, to bring in the year on top of the world financially, being great parents, being homeowners, running their home, the place that they call home, running it smoothly, and running it with with success, and looking towards abundance. So that's what they are. That's what they're looking towards. They're looking for that. That's what they want. Virgo paths, on the other hand, these are the folks that are independent, like they're individual, And basically, they arrive in sort of these sort of like relationships that in which both sides are dependent. Like their boss is not so nice, but is just at the time is giving them everything that they ever need, maybe everything that they ever wanted at the time. And then the person who is in the Virgo path might have to, like, they might have to sacrifice something. They might have to sacrifice, like, it may be their integrity. It may be a sacrifice of their finances if it's with a friend, or they might have to sacrifice their voice as an adult, with autonomy and independence. They have to sacrifice those things for a parent, or a marital situation. So basically, people from the Virgo path are finding themselves where they're realizing that the world around them has closed in on them. In fact, has closed its doors. So there aren't much opportunity to continue. It's not productive, and they're not benefiting to stay in these relationships. And a lot of them want to. A lot of them say, look, I've never been the kind of one to leave from anything that gives me security. I'm tough. I can take it. But they're saying, how it's happening around them, like this year is saying, no, no, we did that last year. We stayed in the gap last year. That's a Christian term. Standing in the gap, meaning you're standing in the way, and you're like, don't stand in the gap. Like, don't block people. Don't block progress. And so we would gladly do that, especially like, hey, as long as it's pays the overhead, I'll stay. And but not this year is like, all the doors that create opportunities for that are closing. In fact, you would have felt it entering into November. The closer you are becoming to November 23rd, you would have realized, like, whoa, this person, I could team up with this person, but they're not giving much option here, not too much leg room. So that's what that means. And so what happens is that they then are going on their journey, and then it goes to where they become seeking autonomy or independence. They find wealth in business and expansion of themselves and lateral climbing, furthering furthering their career, even adding education in the process. And behind that door, they also find true, genuine, healthy, constructive companionship, loving companionship, but on the other side of the door of their success.
It's a simple process. Also, you will have the option to becoming a monthly subscriber. By doing so, there are features that's only exclusive to subscribers, whether it's through the video content that are psychic topic related, metaphysical in nature, for the empowerment and the enrichment of the practical lifestyle, modern lifestyle, okay? Growth in prosperity, money, and you prosper in health as well. Yes, you can have wealth in your health. These topics are going to be available on my personal website.
So that's the Virgo path. So late July 2019, one Virgo path, and the second being Libra's path for those who are accompanied by someone uniquely intimate. Virgo's path is the focus with the group minds, okay? So this is the Virgo. Virgos, the single, the people who are individual. Virgo's path is the focus with the group minds or soul group who are traveling alone. They travel alone. So when I meet them on the crossroad, they've come, in their travels, they're alone. They're arriving alone by themselves. Okay? And now okay, since this is dated in July, I knew that because I know I know humans because I've been reading, mortals. I mean, I've been reading them since all this whole time, right? And so when July came, they were. I knew that they would embark on the journey. They say, "Psych, oh, really? Really, I got to do that?" I say, "Yeah, it's going to start for you. You're going to really start to feel the pull in August." And then I knew they would go quiet until like late September, October, and then they would come back. And then they would fade away until November, like mid-November. I knew they were going to come in, especially like in December. They coming back like fireworks because now remember when I said they're traveling alone? Well, before they was traveling alone, they weren't alone. They were in these relationships that are somewhat codependent, and some of them were in relationships like intimate ones, and some of them had bonded actually with their I guess with their business or employers, and so at this end it's about really helping them to understand that no, that door it's closed, that boat has that ship has sailed, there is no going back, there's no going back. And I'm gonna explain why that is. Because although the story is about people who marry, two people who get together and marry, etc., and about the one person who's on that road, meeting a psychic or in the crossroad, that doesn't account for. Okay, so what happens to the folks who Virgo people, the Virgo's path have been working with? What happens to them? Well, these folks were involved in this dependent relationship as well. In fact, they would limit or minimize what they could do. For meaning they have since that relationship that connection has dissolved, they've had the ability to restructure, regroup for the new year. They've had the ability to expand their businesses, or their framework of mind, to work on themselves and even find partnerships that will equalize them. That is more their match. And so now Virgo paths also can be somebody who is like because these are the same individuals that like if you're a parent and you find a guy. I mean, well, you you've got you have a divorce, like divorce has finally gone through, or you have broken up and you've gotten your kid off to college, but you still got to be there for your kid, and you're still trying to figure out. But there's a part of you that's still in like go mode. You're still in parent mother go mode or father go mode. I got single fathers that call in too, by the way. So that it means that now they have the ability to finally focus on themselves. So they're no longer saying so they're no longer needing to give and spread themselves out. They have permission to do something for themselves. They had the permission, the green light to do things for other people, but now they get the chance to finally do something for themselves. And so that's the meaning of the Virgo path. It's for autonomy and individuality. It's working very closely. Mercury at that time, Virgo's planet, working very closely with the planet Mars. So, okay, so these individuals are acting from their independent selves, achieved earlier on with the year by dissolving all intimate or familiar relationship dependent upon the bond shared between both sides at the time. So it also depends on what's really going on. What kinds of relationship it is, which we described. It could be any kind: marriage, love, money. It could be any kind. And then it says, however, presently for the individual path, however, presently for the individual path, these alliances, though may have served well in the past, are no longer viable currently. So the paths that Virgo people were on, they are no longer accessible, and even if they are they're not accessible. But even if one could, they're not going to produce anything. It doesn't give you any reason to want to even stay. So it. Even though my job is to even help people to convince them that, because some people still think that they might be able to go back and turn it around, and some people do try and think like that, but they're not even given that option because the person on the other side is saying, I understand and I respect that you're willing to work at it and try. I, speaking for myself, am not. I have decided to do something different other than connecting, reconciling. So reconciliation on this side is not probable because newly formed relationship is meant to happen, meant to take place. Okay, one more paragraph, and I promise we're gonna get to it. Thank you. Thank you. So the Emperor is a tarot card. Oh, the Emperor. That's Mars planet, by the way. Hold on. This I need to dig up. The Emperor is the planet actually for Aries. The planet is the Tower. So, okay, we've got this one. We might as well get this one. All right. So, the Emperor tarot card. Okay, the Emperor is a tarot card representing Aries. And the Tower, the signs, planet Mars, are active. Okay, so this says that both of these were considered active. For active indicates one who chooses this path must challenge themselves to seek first their individuality. So this is referring once again to Virgo path. So what they call it, I guess the initiation. This is like the initiation. So the Emperor is a tarot card representing Aries, and the Tower, the signs, planet Mars, are active. Indicates one who chooses this path must challenge themselves to seek first their individuality. Then, where there are others, the past participants, okay, so where there were others, the past people in the Virgo person's life, to introduce motivation, where they would motivate and, I forgot that word that I'm also looking for. Not condone, not endorse. It's not going to come to me, I don't think. Maybe it'll come to me later. But they could get people to be motivated. They would give the Virgo person an incentive. The personality finds means for gaining validation. So people could get validated by, I guess, sort of like the rewards that came through motivation, like give you incentives to stay, and they're not working. So this is saying that uh, the Virgo, the Virgo people have energy. Like people who have to walk this path, like some of them are already in midlife, in the sense of their life. They're raising kids, they've got their their spouse, and they're like, I'm supposed to do what? How like how I'm gonna find the energy to do all these things? Will I even have the energy to do all these things? And it's like, yeah, actually, yeah. So that's what this means. It's like an abundant enough energy that you're gonna need to go in that route, the direction that you're gonna want to go. So that's what this means. Okay, so we've got that out of the way. Done. 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 Wait a minute. Did I need this? Okay, one more thing. One more thing. Wait a minute. No. No, this one is irrelevant. Okay. All right. One more. Okay, let's see. I'm only gonna try to choose. I'm only gonna try to pick. I'm only gonna pick and choose like which one is the best. I think it's in this group. Okay. Yeah, this is the one. All right. So I'm gonna have to like go through this like one step at a time. So basically, this is still describing individuality. And when I drew this up, I was talking about the sun in Sagittarius in the fourth house, and Pluto in the sign for Capricorn in the fifth house. And what that represented is that is it just reflects how people are beginning to really take note of their home and family. I'm hearing a lot of people when they call in, they're very proud, especially people who are working with their home, or they're working with their, or like, because this is a time about family. It's about individuality, but remember, we also have people on the Libra side. It is about family, and they're taking great strides. They are proud in that area. They feel good about their home, their family, and going forward. And what I've come to find, and people also are finding out they have a very deep need, to become established. So as I mentioned, on this side, the Libra side, people are establishing themselves, through the roots. They're really grounding themselves, in which you're finding out that parents really want to influence their lives in different from the previous years. And and now but of course it is, and it states here that in some cases there are going to be those, and again, that's the Virgo side, where there's a little bit of struggle through the independence. And so it really depends upon the conditions in which people are surrounding themselves in. It really depends upon that. So what I needed to share is that, okay, bring this back up. This is to bring this back up again. My Libra charts. Okay, so now for the prediction. So now you've got the framework of where everybody's going, right? So, and why? So the way that I drew this is that you could tell. So here's the Republic. Well, this would be the Republic, the Democrat. This would be the progression, and you could tell that they're all linked, except for this one, the sign for Sagittarius. And I'm gonna be honest, this does represent, this is the Democratic Party planet or sign. They are the sign for Sagittarius. This place is necessary. It's absolutely needed. But people tend to flow through to, you know, they want to revolutionize, and they want to explore, especially their opportunities for money and things of that nature. And so that's why, that's why there's so much contrast information. That's why this information is contrasting. Butting of the heads. Everybody's butting heads at this point in time, but with good reason, because remember, information wise, one information is going to take over the other. And so I truly believe through my findings, because when I looked at the astrological charts of the of the top Democratic, candidates, and there's only two that made sense. Now, in my past videos, you heard what I said, in regarding Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris. So you already know what I said about those two in the previous video. But there's only two, and that is, first of all, is Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. Now, if Joe Biden was not felt like someday he just didn't feel like running, Bernie Sanders would dominate. If it wasn't for Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders he would do it. He would take on Donald Trump. But Joe Biden is going to be the one. He's the only one astrologically sound enough. His planets actually progress. He has a wild and radical viewpoint. I'm telling you, if we were had Pluto moved into Sagittarius like we thought that it was going to, it probably, we would have had a different mindset, and we'd be ready to take on those thoughts. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. But when I was looking at the astrological charts, one thing is for certain. They say that it's meant for him to boom in the pocketbooks. It's meant for him to acquire a great deal of money. Business wise, they say that he is first of all, he's a magnet and a superstar. He is meant to be full, have money, endless money, Joe Biden. But the thing is, the thing about this is that if it were his reality, we were in the dimension of, again, Sagittarius path, it would be easier. I mean, a lot of things would happen. As I stated in my previous videos, Kamala Harris would have a better time in her run. And it's sad that the moment that I released this information, she dropped out. And then, of course, things would have looked differently for Hillary Clinton. Now, I'm speaking neutrally, so I'm not choosing a side here. I'm just speaking neutrally. So this is not to be mean to either one. I'm just speaking. If you're going to have a fight, you want it to be a good fight, right? So we're gonna look at it like that. We're like, well, who would be the best two to fight? If they're gonna get into the ring and debate with words, right? Who? So that's what we're looking at. We're not. This is not to be vicious or be mean, or because I love them. I love all people, but we got to be serious. I think the Democratic Party would have an amazing thing if this was allowed to be rewritten, but going in this direction, it would be better. But it's not. It's written in this direction. So
I am excited to launch my website, my personal website, where I will host my videos as well as the means for clients to reach me. directly. I do respond. And if you have questions, you can always text or call, and I will answer all of your Q&A that way. And you can book through the phone, but you can also book online. You can secure your your time and date, and yes, your time and date will be honored.
Yes, astrologically speaking, the charts flow more with Trump is more Donald Trump, President Donald Trump is more in sync astrologically. And Bernie Sanders, he's great, but see, Bernie Sanders is sort of like the running mate for Joe Biden. I know I can't use it that way. I know he's not his running mate. He's his contender, but if I could borrow that term, it's like Joe Biden, excuse me, Bernie Sanders astrological chart helps Joe Biden. Like if like it's like Bernie Sanders pushes Joe Biden to run harder in the race, right? And I'm just saying that if Joe Biden was not running astrologically, his constellations would actually be removed, and it would be Bernie Sanders to race. Bernie Sanders would be the one in the front, but Joe Biden has the more in this case scenario. But even in heaven, the Bible says there are crowns bigger than other crowns and robes brighter than other robes, you know. Kind of like, you know, what they call it, like if you're a bachelor robe, if you got the bachelor's robe and a master's robe, you know what I mean. You get the stalls and the cape, you know. So and then then it's different from the doctoral robe, and then different from the PhD, you know. So robes, so like robes and crowns, some are bigger, all right. So his constellations is more influential in this particular area, okay, of life. And so this is what's relevant: the fact that they're running for as a contender to represent their party, running against current President Donald Trump. So that brings us to clearly who is emerging? Who's gonna go ahead and he might as well go ahead and watch it happen. He watch it safe. A few days from now, Joe Joe Biden, he'll spring forward and basically dominate and like, all right, you're the one, you're the candidate, you're going to represent, the Democratic Party to oppose President Donald J. Trump. And then, so that's why I wrote in my title, President Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. I was going to fit in there say a bit about Bernie Sanders, but if you called into this video and you've come this far, then now you heard it. So I just wanted to share that information. So those are my astrological findings and of what's to come. And yes, it says a lot about their debate, right now at the moment, impeachment in question. Now, according to my charts and my readings, and the reason why I bring up 2024, because I read that when I was asked by the people who would fare best in presidency, like what would we get if Hillary Clinton, they asked in a way where it was non-biased. They said, what will I get if Hillary Clinton wins? And what will I get if Donald Trump wins? And I said, well, if Hillary Clinton wins, we will work on ourselves morally. We will take a look at ourselves. it would be a time of great of judgment, because we'll have to accept certain parts of ourselves that are not always pretty. If she were to, I mean, the influence, the kinds of things that we would tackle. And then they said, okay, so what would, so they got, that's in gist, that's in general, without making it into an essay. So then they said, well, what would happen if Donald Trump wins? And I said, well, there's going to be jobs. He's going to secure, there's going to be a great deal of jobs, and there's going to be money. In fact, he would bring in 2024 a great time of abundance. And so astrologically speaking, since it talks about abundance in terms of financial prosperity and the revelating mind moving into a vibrant consciousness of awareness of the world around, the one whose astrological charts fit that is, even today, as over they say less than a year, when it comes to the great challenge, between the two men. Wow. Joe Biden versus current President Donald Trump. Yeah. Yeah. Well, when he be called the runner-up, presidential runner-up. So that's where it's coming from. And so yeah. So will there be an impeachment? Well, well, the charts say that, so 2020, and then President Donald J. Trump would bring in also, like, all the way up into 2024. 2024. Amazing. Because that's where we arrive, when humanity arrives in the age of Aquarius in February 8th, which is the wood dragon. The wood dragon. Rising dragon, the rising serpent, So that's where we're going. So again, but psychic, tell us. This impeachment. Well, I say this. In the book of Job, God, it says, God, allowed for certain things to happen. He did. Right? He did. But in the end, there was a great battle. There was a great, terrible battle, and the four men who basically, what they did, they encroached on Job. They encroached on him. Job was occupied, if you will, and that's what it says. It says occupied, and the men around him, and they use the word trafficking. We're traffickers. Trafficking. That's what they did. And so, and after Job, the fight, the battle had been won, and the conditions in which this battle is to take place, was something horrific. It was like ice and cold water and rain, and dryness. So there wasn't anything safe. It was a devastation. Okay, like land and sea was moved, basically. So it was a terrible battle. But once it was over, one thing that God said, "I know your plan." I was reading this. He literally says, he's like, in one sentence too, in one like, what they call it, in one piece, he says, "I know your plan. I know what you're planning to do. You're like basically like you had you're trafficking all kinds. You're putting people in oppressive situations. You oppressed, especially he was saying you oppressed Job. What else? You messing with my servant. All of that, and then he takes Job's and he duplicates everything that had been originally taken from him, and then by the end of the chapter, Job gets double portions of every, like double, triple, quadruple everything that he ever had. And he had his entire family, and it's like they were waking up and they were blessing him, and they gave him a golden pendant. They gave him all kinds. They gave him like myrrh and all kinds of blessing him, like things that he had gone through. They're saying you went through a lot, but they championed him. They championed him in the end, and through all that time, Job basically was subjected to so much that he but during this whole time, spirit was teaching him, was giving him wisdom, and he was learning like how to budget. It's like learning how to budget his bank accounts. He was learning how to improve his society, how to protect his loved ones, his children, the women, his daughters, his sons, because throughout this whole his life of experience through all of this, right? And remember, he didn't have no prophet powers. He was more like a pastor. He was like a pastor, no prophetic powers. And so in fact, he didn't even know what they were doing in HR. He didn't know what they were doing. But the whole time he was saying, I just gotta just be patient. And then it was until one time he said, "Say, what is up? What's up with this?" Like, it's like, I'm still here. I know what you will do to me once you tell me. I'm fine with that. He said, "Look, I know you're gonna flick me. You're gonna flick me across, to the other side of the kingdom, but just tell me what you're doing, and I will move in that place." And he God could not deny him that. God could not deny him answers, and he gave him his answers. But during the whole time, he had been preparing him in wisdom. He'd been preparing him in knowledge to understand, to understanding what he was learning to do. He was learning how to properly plant seed, grow it, harvest, build, construct, fish, all of it. The proper way of fishing. It was like he was downloaded. Now he knows how to fish. Now he knows how to plant. Now he knows how to get the best meats. Breed his cattle and get the best return. He build structures more fit. He learned infrastructure, and he was ready. Job was at the end of that story. Job was ready. He was ready for anything that God threw at him. So, again, the impeachment question. Well, we're gonna have to just see. We're just gonna have to see. All right, we're gonna listen. We're gonna see what happens, and we're gonna see what happens next. And that's all that I've got. But I just wanted to share those findings. I will get into more astrology talks very soon. I will, and I have my tarot cards ready with me. And you all have a great day. I'm moving on into other things because I gotta get back to reading with my clients. Oh, remember, I do also have upcoming Webinars. I'm getting webinars in place so that we can get into some real strong topics. It's going to get quite interesting, some deep conversations. So please, oh yeah, if you want to hear my thoughts on who was it? Who was it? Joel. I'm observing Joel. I love that first chapter of Joel. So yeah, that's also Joel in the Bible. Yeah, follow me, and I'll put something. I might record that one and just stream it, and you guys can come and watch it if you want to. And then in my live, I'll do an astrological description of what's going on with our stars. Pleasure. 2 thumbs up. Y'all are great. Thanks.